Today I wanted to come on and share a recent release from Crossway. This is the ESV Omega in the Wellington leather, which is brown. And I know the Omega has been out for a while, so it's not a new text block, it's just a new cover option that is available for this particular Bible. So I wanted to come on and show this to you. I will also compare it to the Bible that I have, the ESV Heritage in the Horween leather, and kind of go through what I notice about the two different leathers as well. So before we get into this Bible, in case you're not familiar with the Omega, this is a 10-point font type. It has art gilding, it has 4 ribbon markers, it has cross references, there's going to be a presentation page, it has a sewn binding, and then Crossway does give you a lifetime guarantee for these beautiful Bibles. Okay, so you're going to open it up, you're going to see the pledge here from Crossway. It's kind of talking about, you know, your warranty on the Bible and everything. I guess you'd call it a warranty. Maybe, I don't know. My dog already got some hair on this nice cover of the Bible here, so that's typical of him, but won't get him too close to the Bible itself anyway, so he can't destroy it. But this is the Omega in the Wellington leather, so you can see it's very smooth, a nice dark brown color. And if you're a perfectionist like me, I just have to warn you that the Horween leather, the Wellington leather, it does scuff up and mark up pretty easily. So I've kind of overcome that because I had my Horween leather Bible, the Heritage one, for almost a year now, since that came out last year. So I've kind of gotten over that, but just to warn you, because at first, when I first got that one, I was a little bit having some mini heart attacks when I got some marks on the cover. So you can see this one already has a little like nick in it here, not too bad, but this is going to patina and wear over time. So I try not to anyway, really worry about what it looks like. And obviously I'm careful with it. I'm not like, throwing it out in the rain or anything like that, but it is going to mark up and scuff up. So just something to be aware of. If that's not something that you really like about your Bibles, or you would really like to happen to your Bible, then you might want to look for a different cover option, like their goatskin leather or their leather soft or other choices that are out there. So on the spine here, we're going to have the 4 raised spine hubs. We're going to have blind stamping of Holy Bible, ESV, English Standard Version, and Crossway. And you can see I don't know if you can see, the camera's not picking it up real great, but I already have some light scratches there as well. And I just got this very recently. So again, it's not like an issue or anything. I'm just telling you this because some people might not like that. So I want you to be aware before you spend a lot of money on a Bible like this. It's going to have perimeter stitching. We're going to have our 4 ribbons, page art gilding. I love how this feels in my hand. It's really smooth, but it's also pretty flexible too. It's a little more flexible than the Heritage and Horween leather, but I also think that's because this is a thin Bible, where the Heritage, which I'll show you in a minute here, is a single column Bible, so it's a little thicker. So I think that's why we have the difference in floppiness also. Okay, so then I'm going to get into this Bible here. I think I've said this before, but these pages here that look like they're stuck together, don't ever pull those apart, because that keeps the Bible together better, so you don't want to do that. We have a presentation page, and then we're going to go through and have marriages, births and adoptions, and deaths. And these are on like a more glossy page, so just be really careful what pen you use on there. It doesn't smear, especially if you're left-handed like me. You can take the whole page out with one hand swipe while you're writing. Smear that everywhere. Okay, then we're going to have our table of contents. Going to have the books of the Bible in alphabetical order and a preface. And then we get into an explanation of features that are included in this edition, such as section headings, cross-references, textual footnotes, etc. And then we get into the Old Testament. So this is going to be a 10-point font in double column layout, and it's going to have 28 GSM pages, which they feel really smooth. I don't have an issue with like bleed through or see through of the pages because it is line matched, so that really helps with that. Font's nice and dark. The little references here are pretty small, but I honestly don't use those a ton, so that doesn't bother me. And this is not going to have a ton of extras in it because the purpose of it is to be a thin line Bible. So the main purpose is portability, and the Omega does that very well while still being a very readable size font. Spacing between lines is pretty decent as well, so that's always important when you're reading a Bible, especially for longer periods of time, or using it, you know, even just using it in church to reference verses. That's helpful as well. Chapter numbers are nice and bold. And you can see that I haven't had this really long, but it does lay fairly flat. I mean, this is Genesis, and I've only had this for a couple days. So that's not bad at all. It'll wear in and break in more with time, but that's honestly very, very good for as long as I've had it and how much I've used it so far. Okay, we'll skip through a little bit here. There's our ribbon markers. A lot of people comment on Crossway's ribbons. They're not the best, if I'm being totally honest. I don't mind them because they are thin. Sometimes thicker ribbons, I feel like, you know, kind of make that mark on the page, like that impression when if you've not moved it around for a while, or if you're not careful, could rip the page too, which I've never really had that issue, but I know it could be an issue. I do like that these are thinner in that respect, so I don't mind them. Like I said, they're not the best quality out there, but they serve their purpose. All right, let's go ahead and skip to the New Testament now. So you can see this is a black letter text, which I prefer. You can also see here we're in the New Testament, and this is laying open pretty flat here as well. So you won't have to break this in a ton before it's already laying flat for you. Which is really helpful. And if we go to the end of the Bible, like I said, there's not a whole lot of extras because the purpose of this Bible is portability and just having that nice thin line Bible with some readable font. But we are going to have a table of weights and measures. And then we're going to have a concordance. Abbreviations for the books of the Bible. Now the concordance is pretty tiny font, but that's a lot of times typical. I know Schuyler Bibles also have a pretty small font concordance, and that's to keep the Bible thin, like I said before, so it doesn't add too much thickness to it with all those pages that you would have to use if you had a larger print concordance. At the end of the Bible then, we're going to have some maps. Sorry, my daughter's like using some kind of wrapping paper or something in the background. So that's that like static noise you hear back there. Sorry about that. We're going to have our maps in the back here. This is Jerusalem in the time of Jesus also. And then we get to the end of our Bible with a couple thicker cardstock pages. And that's it. So the Omega is a beautiful classic option that Crossway has had available for several years, and this is the Wellington leather cover, so that's just a new cover option available. I've never seen the Horween leather Omega, but I will show you. I do have the Heritage in Horween leather, so let's go ahead and pull that out, because that was my biggest question when I first saw that they were coming out with the Wellington leather is, well, what's the difference? Because I already have the Horween Heritage. So, I'm not very good at holding all this up for the camera, but the color is very similar. The Wellington might just be a little bit darker, but keep in mind, too, that I've used this Heritage a decent amount, like carrying it to church and holding it and reading it. So it does patina a little bit over time. You're going to see more lines and scratches, etc. in this Heritage. But the color is very similar. I do think the Horween leather looks a little bit lighter in the Heritage here. As for feeling of it, they're both really thickness appears to be very similar. The this is weird, but the smell is pretty similar of both the leathers. It sounds like a really weird thing to say, but I know some of my Bible nerds will understand what I'm saying there. But yeah, I feel like it's a very similar leather. The only thing I notice is it might be a little bit darker color on the new Wellington leather, but that may also be because I've carried this other one so much and it's kind of patinaed a little bit in the past year. The Omega feels a little bit more floppy, but I also think that that's partly because this Heritage is a much thicker Bible. So it's still, I mean, it's still floppy, but I feel like there's more like, I don't know if I'm using the right word choice here, but like structure in this one. It's not like flopping around as much, but that might just be the difference in text block, because the leather itself feels like very similar to me. I'm no expert, so I'm sure there's other reviewers that will have a more expert opinion on the leather and what the specific differences of these leathers are. But in my untrained eye, that I just like reading the Bible and using different cover options, don't have a lot of experience with that, but in my opinion, they feel very similar. The Omega even might feel a little bit smoother in the Wellington leather, but I also think, again, it's because I've been using this other one so much. So there's a lot more scratches and lines from me holding it open while I'm reading it, etc. So that is the ESV Wellington leather Omega from Crossway. This is the ESV Heritage and Horween leather from Crossway, and both beautiful Bibles. I know that the Heritage is available now in the Wellington leather as well, so if you missed out on the Horween and want something that's very similar to that, you can pick that up now on Crossway's website. If you do, I think it's called Crossway Plus. If I'm wrong, I'll link it in the description, or put the explanation in the description. But if you join that, sign up for that on their website, it's completely free. You can get like a 30% discount, which for a premium Bible is going to come out to a lot. So definitely do that if you're wanting to buy one of those. I also know evangelicalbible.com is coming out with different covers for the Heritage as well, and different leather options. So if you're looking for the Heritage, you can check those out as well. I think they're coming in late November of this year. But anyway, it's my little plug for Crossway Bibles because I love my ESV. But that is the Wellington leather Omega from Crossway. If you have any specific questions about the leathers or anything, I will try my very best to answer those. If you want to leave those in the comments below. Like I said, I am no professional. I just love my Bibles, but I will do my very best to answer any questions that you have. I will say that although I'm no professional about all this, it's a beautiful Bible, and I'm really going to love reading this and carrying this with me. So I do know that much. So let me know if you have any of these Bibles and how you're using them as well. And I hope you enjoyed seeing this Omega and Wellington leather.